Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Bill Maher's rubbing salt deep into the wound after Will Smith's well-known Oscar slap. You already know the story, but what you might have missed is Maher's brutal laugh-out-loud takedown of Smith's so-called tough guy image. He mocked Will nonstop, revealing that short display of manhood for the fake act. It truly was get ready.
I break down jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
So you heard the man, and he's right. Jokes have been under fire for quite a while. First, the woke crowd targeted movies controlling what could be made and what had to be banned. Now, they've turned their focus to comedy, trying to decide which jokes are okay and which ones should be shut down. It's like they're set on sucking the joy out of everything. But Bill Maher isn't the type to stay quiet while free speech gets choked, tired of the woke mob's growing list of banned humor. Maher chose to speak up and bring the heat.
The Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
Now, this part is actually pretty interesting because I'll admit I never thought about it from that point of view. Before sure I knew about the G.I. Jane movie. But it never even occurred to me that Chris Rock's joke was directly connected to the shaved head in the film and Jada's hairstyle. That night, it's such a simple link, yet so many of us missed it. But hey, race the main point. Jokes are jokes. They're not meant to be analyzed like government policy. Sometimes they hurt. Sometimes they don't, but either way we need to toughen up and take them even when they hit close to home. That's comedy, real and unfiltered. Now, let's keep the clip going.
Although insult humor is also a staple of comedy. And in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothée Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute. And
one thing about these award shows is that they've become open hunting zones where comedians and hosts target rich, powerful celebrities. It's almost part of the deal. A big part of the fun is seeing these stars who usually live in comfort and get constant praise get brought down a notch or two with a clever joke. Now, personally, am not a big fan of the whole tradition of roasting people in front of millions. I won't lie about that. But in the end, it's a free world, and comedy has its role if that means someone's pride or feelings get hurt. So be it, that's the risk of sitting in the front row.
Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
So, here's the part that really confuses everyone. Will Smith actually laughed at Chris Rock's joke about his wife, at least at first, but the moment Jada gave him that cold look, his whole attitude changed. And we all know what came after that quick switch says everything about the relationship between Hollywood and the woke crowd deep down. Many celebrities don't really believe in every woke because they promote, but just like Smith giving into pressure there, forced into going along the silent thread is always their step out of line, and you risk your reputation, maybe even your career. It's not belief pushing them, it's fear, pure and simple.
Moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not fun."
Well, Smith might have thought in that split second that the manly move was to defend his wife and show everyone he wouldn't stand for any insult aimed at her on the surface that might seem honorable. But when you look deeper, it was far from it. What happened on that Oscar stage was less about bravery and more about giving in real strength. Isn't about slapping someone on live television. It's about holding firm to what you believe even under pressure. Instead, Smith went against his first reaction, laughing at the joke, and gave in to his wife's cold disapproval. That single look changed his whole course. And in a moment, he submitted. The act that was meant to seem like a powerful show of love ended up looking like weakness, revealing a man more focused on pleasing Jada's expectations than on being true to himself.
On jokes must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
The joke might be tasteless, not funny or even offensive, but that doesn't mean it deserves to be canceled. Comedy has always existed on the edge, testing limits and making people uneasy. That's what it does. If a comedian's jokes don't sit well with you, the easiest thing to do is not buy their tickets, not stream their specials, and not go to their shows. Comedy is personal. And just because one group finds something offensive doesn't mean it should be silenced for everyone. In the end, comedians have the right to say what they want, whether the joke hits or misses. And if they ever go too far into something actually illegal, that's when real authorities, not online mobs or cancel movements, should handle it. Until then, the best move is simple. If you don't like it, ignore it and move on. That's real freedom of choice.
Comedians are the ones testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Sarah Silverman's story really hit me here. Her goal with that controversial blackface sketch wasn't to insult or mock Black people, but to throw a harsh light on racism itself and how deeply it damages both individuals and society. She was using satire, one of the oldest and sharpest tools in comedy, to make a point bigger than the joke. But as we've seen over and over, the overly sensitive woke crowd completely missed the meaning. Instead of focusing on her message, they fixated on the image chose. Outrage over understanding and attacked her relentlessly. The irony is that in trying to start a real discussion about racism, Silverman ended up becoming a victim of the same cultural policing that shuts down honest conversations. Her story proves how unforgiving the woke mob can be, even toward those who are actually on their side.
Pulled off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and Black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
It's honestly surprising how far colleges have strayed from what they were meant to be. These places were supposed to stand for free thought spaces where debates sparked, ideas collided, and students sharpened their minds by engaging with views different from their own. That was the whole purpose of higher education: exposure to opposing ideas, so you could learn to think critically. But now many campuses have turned into echo chambers so soaked in wokeness that differing opinions aren't just unwelcome. They're seen as dangerous threats. Students are being taught to shut down disagreement instead of wrestling with it, to see opposing views as attacks instead of chances to grow. The outcome is a generation increasingly closed off to other ways of thinking, not because their beliefs are stronger, but because they've been protected from ever having to confront real challenges. And that's something everyone should be concerned about.